Hi, over the last couple of years I've done a couple of these video things for the third year IPE course, so I thought I'd do one for the second year case study. I'll probably put together maybe two or three of them about different parts of doing the case study. I know that it's probably quite new for some of you, and since you haven't done the dissertation training stuff yet about how to do a dissertation, this might be helpful. Again, if not, that's totally fine. I don't feel at all offended, but if it helps any of you, then I'll put this together. I will talk about this in the lecture, and we will talk about this as well in the seminars as well. So there are 8 things I really want to talk about, and I'll go through them fairly quickly to not waste your time. So number one is you need to quite quickly, I think, over the next couple of weeks. This is about this is about the process of doing the case study. I'll talk about the structure of writing it another time. And how to go about all of that stuff. But this one's about the process of how you actually do the research for the case study. So number one thing is pretty obviously you've got to choose a topic, and I would say to do that quite quickly. I said that in the first lecture. I don't know how many of you actually have chosen one of the 5 or 6, I don't know how many topics there are, 5 or 6 topics. First things first, choose a topic. If you do nothing else to start with, choose a topic. It will get you thinking about what that really means. You can then start to do all sorts of clever things, and I'll talk maybe about this in the lecture if you want me to explain this more. But you can set up things like, I don't know, Google Alerts, for example, on if you've got a Gmail account or things like that. You can do the same kind of thing, I think, with Hotmail as well. That basically searches through all the new news that comes out and all this kind of stuff for particular terms. So if you choose humanitarian intervention, you could set a search that will find those things quite quickly. You can actually start doing some research for this without having to do an awful lot. Just set up a simple Google search, and I can explain that, like I said, another time. But you've got to start off by choosing a topic, number one, fairly quickly. Number two then is, if you actually have some time now and you want to start writing the case study, number 2 thing to do is to actually go and do a Google search of your own. It's not the only way to go around it. It's what I do, though, when I'm starting a new project. I'll go on something like Google and search through the news items or something like that, looking for, so if you choose to do neoliberalism, for example, you might go, and you know anything about neoliberalism, then you might go through the Google News and look for particular things that are associated with inequality, for example, or I don't know, gentrification, urbanization, any of these things. But I would do a bit of a search through the news, through reports, etc., things that have been written. That's number 2. Do a bit of a preliminary, I can't say the word, preliminary research quite quickly in the project, because that will help you, number 3, to choose a question. So you've chosen the topic, but number 3, you need to be able to choose a question and frame your own question, which is much more specific. The topic is just a very broad kind of thing, look at a case of humanitarian intervention. You need to be able to come up with your own question based on that topic. So choose a topic, do a Google search. Number 3 then is to choose a question, and I would say probably at that stage, even if you've not done a lot more, come and speak to me, or maybe not just send me an email, but come and speak to me at one of my office hours, or speak to your tutor about that. We can really help you get a question early on, and it will help you to do some research as you go on. I think it'll save you a lot of time. So choose a topic, do a Google search, frame a specific question. Why does something happen, or how is this affected in this particular country, or whatever it is. Number 4 then is to start thinking about what kind of sources you're going to use. I've put some stuff in the course guide about this. Sources could be anything. They could be newspaper articles. They could be things written in The Economist or something like that. They might be actual reports written by, I don't know, the World Bank or the British government or something. But sources are more than just secondary academic literature. Like I said in the beginning, you are being assessed on your independent research. And what I mean by that is it's not just going to the academic sources. It's actually finding some, whether it's newspaper articles or official publications by the government or whoever. Those are what I consider to be official or independent research. So choose a topic, do a Google search. Number 3, pick a question or frame a question. Number 4, think about sources. And again, I would really encourage you to speak to myself or one of the seminar leaders about that as well. Number 5, I would then, once you've thought about your sources, I would go do another kind of search on the internet. Go look at those sources. Do a bit of a search through. If you're looking at, I don't know, speeches by David Cameron, for example, there's those kind of things. If you're looking at records from within the Houses of Parliament, I don't know. But you can go and have a look at those things. You'll find that there's a lot out there. You've got to then figure out, how am I going to filter this information? What do I, you can't, it would take you a lifetime to read through all of it. So what am I going to look for? Am I going to search for particular terms, for example, in all these sources? But that'll take a bit more, searching, if you like. Okay. Number 6 then is to actually start to draft an answer, at least an introductory paragraph or two. A lot of people, I don't know, they think that bit's almost impossible. They can't do that till later on in the day. Let me encourage you, the earlier you start to draft it, the better your essay is going to be. I'll come back to that in a minute or two. So you've got to choose a topic. Number 2, do a Google search. Number 3, frame a question. Number 4, think about the sources. Number 5, do another search. And then number 6 is start to draft it. I'd say number 7, if you haven't done already, at that point, I would go and speak to myself or one of the seminar tutors. Get some advice from them. If you're in any doubt at all, come speak to me. That's fine. I'd like to be able to help with them. And then number 8, I don't know if I can do this while I'm sitting down, but I might try and draw this again on the board. This is probably a bad idea. But I did say in the lecture, but I said to you that in the lecture that a lot of people think about the essay a little bit like this, that here's your deadline day, and you know that you need 2 weeks before that, and so you'll start writing 2 weeks before the deadline. But what you'll find, it's back to front on the screen, what you'll find with a dissertation and the case study is a little bit more like this. It's a little bit like a kind of a rolling ball that just gets kind of bigger and bigger. Each of these is a full draft of the thing. I'm sorry this is back to front, but you get the idea. Each of these is a full draft of your essay. You need to be able to start working it quite early to be able to write the whole thing almost, or a draft of it, and then be able to say, right, okay, that makes sense, I can see where that's going, etc., but I need more information, so you go back to it again. And you'll kind of redraft, and each time it'll get bigger and neater, etc., etc., but it's very different to this sort of deadline here. Writing a dissertation is a lot more like this as well. So I hope that's been helpful. I'm sorry I'm kind of walking around carrying a computer. But hopefully that's been helpful for thinking about the process of how to do the case study. The thing I would emphasise to you, and I'll say it over and over again, is start writing it early. If you leave it till after reading week and don't really even think about it until middle of November, you're going to leave yourself a lot of work to do. I think if you can see myself or one of the seminar tutors in the next week or so, that will be really helpful. Okay, I hope that's helped, and I'll see you in the lecture.